We're going to call this meeting to order at 6:20 local time, and we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Committee Secretary, roll call, please.
Okay, Councilmember Matias,
Here.
Councilmember Palmeras, and Councilmember Ledeju will be late.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Please review the meeting minutes for our April 1st meeting. And once you've had an opportunity to review, I'll entertain a motion from Councilmember Palmares. And I will second that. Do we need a roll call on the?
Councilmember Matias,
Yes.
Councilmember Palmeras. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That approval passes. And then moving right along to item 5, we will go ahead with operations, with the Operation Bureau monthly statistical report. Before we do that, I just want to apologize to the public because we were late to start this meeting. I think I would like to work with the leadership team to see if we can make some shifting around the start time and perhaps the meeting day, because it's been a few meetings in a row where several of us have been late, and so we'll work to address that, and want to apologize to the public for the start time here. So with that, VPD, take it away.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. I'm Captain Jerome Bautista with the Vallejo Police Department. Now, I will be providing an update on our Operations Bureau report. I wanted to first start off with our personnel. Currently, we are at 79 sworn officers, 77 which are active, 2 that are inactive. We currently have 41 officers on patrol and 1 on field training. That one that is currently on field training is expected to be solo, hopefully sometime by next week. So that will bring us up to 42 officers on patrol. We currently have 6 recruits in different academies. We started off with 8. However, 1 has since resigned and another has failed out of one of our academies. So that brings us down to 6. So in total, that is 2 in the SAC Sheriff's Office Academy, graduating in April. 1 in Alameda County Academy, graduating in May. Sorry, the 2 already graduated in April. 1 left in the Sacramento PD Academy, graduating in July. And 2 additional in the Alameda County Academy, graduating in August of 2026. We have about 23 sworn officers in various stages of the hiring process, and that includes 17 at the recruit level, 4 at the entry level, 2 at the lateral level, with a total of 23. Now I'd like to go over the operations report. So this month's operation report, we added the beat map for everyone to reference so that you can see which areas are corresponding to beats 1 through 8. If I could draw your attention to the operations report. So just keep in mind, this is for March all of these stats are for March of 2026. We are a little delayed because it takes our analysts some time to receive all of the information and then chart everything in a presentable fashion. So as of March 2026, we've fielded 12,614 calls for service, creating 6,075 incidents. And actually, we had, for the patrol division, we generated 4,670 calls for service with 1,405 officer-initiated incidents, 707 traffic stops, and no officer-involved shootings. I wanted to draw your attention to the crime statistics on the bottom. Right now, we are at a 50% drop in our homicide rate as well as our shootings. As of note, the increases that we have had as of March is in the crimes of rape, aggravated assault, simple assault, and domestic violence. Everything else has trended in a downward direction. So those other crimes are looking a lot better. During our last meeting, I was asked to do a stolen vehicle assessment regarding the vehicles that were stolen in different areas of our city. So we broke it down into different areas such as the east, west, north, and south. So I asked my service lieutenants to go ahead and do an assessment of all of those areas, and they basically looked at the summary of trends, which is the highest activity locations, common locations, peak time frames, vehicle types, keyless or theft of opportunity, and environmental factors. So first I'll go over the summary of trends for the east side, which is beats 1 and 2. And you could always refer to your beat map for those areas. So for beats 1 and 2, the highest activity was in beat 2 with over 50% of the total thefts. Common locations in beats 1 and 2 were residential areas and open parking lots. The peak time frames for beats 1 and 2 were primarily daytime hours across all the beats actually, and all days of the week. The primary vehicle types were Toyotas, Hondas, sedans, mid to 2000s to newer models. And there was minimal evidence of keys left in vehicles in beats 2 and 3, and no consistent indicators suggesting any SEPTED-related vulnerabilities in beats 1 and 2. On to the south beat, which is beats 3 and 4. The highest activity of stolen vehicles were in beat 4, over 70% of the total thefts. The common locations of those areas were residential areas and areas unfamiliar to the owner. Peak time frames were from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. all days of the week. The vehicle types were a mix of import and vehicles and American vehicles, Hondas, Toyotas, Chryslers, Fords, Chevys, and Pontiacs. In March, half of the keys were left in the vehicles. And again, in beats 3 and 4, there were no environmental vulnerabilities. On to the west side, which is beats 5 and 6. Both beats actually had the highest activity, mostly in residential areas and vehicles parked on the streets. The peak time frames were the evening hours, every day of the week. Import vehicles were the primary take, which were Nissan, Mazda, Toyota, and Acura. And as for American cars, they were Dodge, Buick, GMC, and Pontiac. 13 keys were left in the vehicle, 2 noted with alarms going off. Again, no related environmental vulnerabilities. And for the north side of Vallejo, which is beats 7 and 8, both beats had the highest activities, mostly residential areas parked on the street, peak time frames, evening hours, all days of the week. 3 incidents where vehicles were stolen from homeowners that were on extended vacations. 3 of them had keys left in the vehicle. And again, no consistent environmental related vulnerabilities. Some of the recommendations that we came up with were, like putting up signs, especially in commercial areas, never leave your keys or fobs inside your vehicle. Use well-lit areas, secure garages when possible. Use visible deterrents, steering wheel locks, alarms, trackers. Store inside or lock chain to a fixed object. Don't leave on trucks or trailers overnight. That's referencing like bikes and things that are left, or ATVs that folks sometimes leave in their pickup trucks. improve lighting and cameras, motion lights, and clear camera angles to help. And just being alert. Report any suspicious activity and share information with your neighbors, especially if you are going on an extended vacation, to make sure they're looking out for one another and making sure all of our property is safe and secure. Another item that was brought up was during the ops report was the idea of having a safe exchange zone. And I'm happy to report that we actually put one in front, sign in front of our police department. I'm sorry that I didn't provide a photo for you guys to present. However, it is on a sign that's directly in front of our police department. And it says Safe Exchange Zone with the Vallejo Police patch on it. It says parking zone and lobby monitored 24 hours. So we currently have one right in front of our police department, in front of the green curb line. And we are actually planning on putting an additional sign inside our lobby, which will be available, our regular lobby hours. Okay. All right. I know Councilmember Matias asked about our security guards at the last meeting as well, and possibility for them to patrol any of our newer businesses that are opening up. So I actually invited Ruben here with X9, our security company. I wanted to put a face to a name, and Ruben, would you like to introduce yourself and just talk about your company a little bit?
Turn the mic on.
Testing, testing. All right, thank you so much for the introduction. My name is Ruben Aguilar with AX9 Security. We are currently doing patrol work around the downtown area. You might see our vehicles currently patrolling. We have multiple vehicles, but with AX9, we take pride in what we do and how we complete our mission. We're tasked from the city to assist with security measures. We all know that the whole city has its areas of focus, hotspot areas of need to be focused on. We pride ourselves in watching over the city as best as we can to assist the police. We have a neighborhood watch program. That's one of the newest additions that the city has provided. We've been able to task a patrol vehicle, security patrol vehicle, with a security officer to maintain certain areas of focus. They've been tasked to go for areas that have been hot-spotted with the data that the police have given us, and we've been able to assist them in patrolling those areas to prevent crime, to deter suspicious activity, to assist those who potentially could be looking at some assistance in any way that we can. We do have officers trained to patrol in the area. I oversee all of them. I review their reports. I send them off to the police and the city as well too. So we do make a good impact on observation and deterrence. That's where security is focused and primarily based, as you can imagine. We leave the police work to the police, of course, but we ultimately do try to emphasize the observation of activity and focusing on them. We've provided a lot of opportunities for some of the officers, security officers locally, so they know the streets, they know the areas, they know where they're coming from. I live in Vallejo. I'm happy to be here. I've been here almost 10 years next month. So I've seen the city kind of turn into what it has become, and yeah, we've definitely tried to emphasize a lot of growth with our company in that sense. With the addition of support roles like neighborhood watch programs, happy to be a part of that. Definitely interested in meeting others that are also interested in neighborhood watch, so that way we can join forces and kind of come up with strategic areas. For those businesses, we have also identified areas towards Gateway Plaza as a higher call list of focus. I've seen activity there myself when I'm not on duty. working myself, and I do see that there is a little bit less trend of activity now. So, to the data that you see on your sheet with some of those metrics, I do see the same amount of data coming in on our end too. So it's nice to see work as a team with the police on this. So I appreciate you guys. It's definitely been a good program. Like I said, I'm looking to get a little bit more involved with the neighborhood watch and emphasize focus on anything that you guys would like to present and share with us as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Ruben. Thank you, Ruben. We certainly appreciate all of your assistance and with your security team. All right, I just wanted to provide a brief update on our sex trafficking program. We actually ran an operation on May 1st, and that was focused on the sex buyers, and that netted a total arrest of 10 arrests and 2 tows. Yes, and we have more on the way, and 8 of the 10 arrests were from out-of-town suspects. So we are hoping that, the word spreads and, we just make it go away, Also, Sergeant Hollis here is working with fast signs to get signs put up along the areas of activity to know that we will not tolerate that type of behavior or that type of activity. And so we are focusing on the areas with the most activity, as well as areas where they migrate to, where they think we're not watching them, but we want to put everyone on notice that we are. So, like I said, we have upcoming operations continuously, so I will be sure to keep you folks updated and brief you on those as well. All right. On to our another brief update with regards to vision. Again, this is our focused deterrent program, and this is violence intervention support improving our neighborhoods. We are working with our crime analyst to develop a candidate list, and Natalie Peterson is also working with our VPD Finance along with Q to for funding for Q, which is going to include the OVC grant and CalVIP Cohort 5 and General Fund, all to be presented on the May 12th City Council meeting. Once funding is established, then we can move forward with everything else that's going on. We've already got a good framework and a idea of what we have to get the program started. And we're all extremely excited to get this program off the ground. So. All right. And now I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Lieutenant Catham regarding the domestic violence initiative. What's that? Sure.
Microphone, please.
Sorry. Let me go ahead and open up the item to public comment. Anyone who would like to comment on any of the items that were addressed this evening is more than welcome to do so up to the podium. Yes. Smith, please come up.
Thank you for the report on the sex trafficking update. I'm actually standing here today to request that the Crime and Safety Committee re-agendize sex trafficking for a more thorough discussion of the current strategies and impact rates. As many of you know, I live across from City Park between Marin and Sonoma, and I'm in Beat 6, which according to tonight's report has the highest number of reported crimes this year to date. And regardless of these arrests, every day on my way to drop my children off at elementary school, I drive past young women. And every day when I return to pick my children up, I drive past many more. Every day, different faces, and every hour, different shifts. There are condoms on my street and in our alley, and sometimes I hear yelling and assault. I hear this on my street, next to the playground in the park, and on the corner by the bus stop. And I have intervened impulsively and then regretted it because I know that she probably suffered later from my bravado. You say you've arrested 10 Johns and 8 are out of town. So how does arresting people who are already out of town deter ongoing activity here? They are customers. Regardless of whether or not there has been an increase in arrests, the men who control, abuse, and profit off of these young women and girls are undeterred. Sonoma Boulevard is a state highway, it is a thoroughfare, and we have seen no relief. As women who have suffered through many things, things that unfortunately most women have suffered through, unfortunately probably other women in this room, I deeply appreciate the standing commitment to domestic violence. But I have to ask why we are not giving equal attention to the women, so many of them so young, most of whom are victims of human trafficking, who are shuffled through our streets like products on a shelf. And yes, I have to explain to my daughters why these women and girls are standing half naked on our street, afraid to make eye contact with anyone other than a man in a car. It is not the exposure to these naked bodies that bothers me when it comes to my children, and it is not even the implication of sex. It is that I have to explain to my 2 daughters that so many other daughters are forgotten in this world. And while there may be a significant increase in these arrests and citations, this strategy is not making a meaningful impact on the neighborhood, which seems to be continually deprioritized rather than advocated for. I hear in the meetings that response times have decreased to the single digits, and yet in my neighborhood I have not seen this in our area. My elderly neighbor, next door neighbor alone, was robbed twice in the last 6 months, and he was home both times. And both times when he called, I'm sorry to say that the police never came. And as terrible as this is, the human trafficking of young women that occurs in broad daylight every single day is by far the most egregious injury that we have to endure. So please consider prioritizing this issue in more depth in future meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening. I wanted to come back to the domestic violence issue for a moment. I feel that tonight we should dedicate this meeting to a young lady named Cecilia, who was the 3rd homicide victim in Vallejo this year, and she was brought to the emergency room last week by a man that left her there and took off. I think we can assume that that was domestic violence. I was trying to find her name. Here's somebody that, as far as we know, died alone, and I found out her name today. It was Cecilia. So I feel that we should connect that to the domestic violence work of this committee to look at what happened, where and perhaps the advocates here can fill us in, were the advocates called? Is this being logged as domestic violence? How are perpetrators such as these tracked? So, God rest your soul, Cecilia.
Thank you. Any other members of the public would like to comment? All right, we'll give you more opportunities as the evening rolls along. Councilmember Palmares, any questions? All right. So I have a few quick questions for you guys. Can you quickly run through the recruitment data again? Not the piece around how many folks you've got in the academy, but how many folks you have in the pipeline, if you don't mind.
So currently we have 23 sworn, 17 of which are at the recruit level, and then 4 which are entry level, and 2 at the lateral level. So just to expand on this, recruit level are those who need to go to the police academy. Entry level are those who have been through the police academy but have not been actually certified as police officers. And then lateral are officers coming from a different agency. So those are the folks that are usually a lot quicker to train and hit the streets solo a lot faster than everyone else.
Thank you for that. And so, just in terms of timeline, so we can right-size expectations for the public, anyone who's at the recruitment level, you're looking at a 2-year timeline, perhaps? Or is it longer than that?
So based on how long it takes to get their background and everything, right, that can take a few months. And then the academy itself will take about 5-6 months from there. And then once they go on to training, they have a 2-week orientation. And then our field training program runs anywhere from minimum of 3 to 4 months. However, if they have deficiencies, it can go a lot longer. We can continue to train them for additional months after that. So I would say from graduating, so from the academy, I'd say about 6 months-ish, and then training another another 3 months, so then you're at 9 months. And then depending how long they take to actually get off of field training, you're looking at close to a year before they're actually solo.
And then similarly, for folks who are at the entry level, can you just walk us through the timeline there?
Sure. So with that one, it's a little bit shorter because they already have the academy, so we don't have to wait for them to now graduate from the academy. And then they start with their 2-week orientation, and then 3 to 4 month FTO, and then same based on each case scenario is going to be dependent upon how they progress. So if they are proficient by the end of 4 months, they are solo. And then so for them, it could take anywhere, I would say, 4 to 6 months.
And then just to confirm, these same 4 folks are not the 4 that are graduating from the academy, right?
No, these are in
Separate.
yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then the laterals, they also have to go through FTO.
Yeah, it's a very abbreviated FTO.
Okay.
Yes.
The reason why I'm elevating that is because we have the sheriff's contract through the end of the year. So if we take the 6 in the academy, the 4 that are entry level, that's 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then the laterals, that's 12. We have about how many deputies from the sheriff's office right now?
6.
6?
Mm-hmm.
So are you guys anticipating that come January 1st, you're going to have at least more than half of those 12 be a part of the force? And the reason why I'm asking is because what I don't want is for us to be having this conversation in the late fall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have a recruitment and retention plan in place. We've got the sheriff's contract. Part of the reason why we did all these things wasn't just to keep the public safe and bring down crime, but it was also to give you guys some time to get more numbers in to the agency. So I want to make sure we're being helpful.
Sure.
The council's being helpful with additional actions to take around that recruitment strategy that you have. So anything you guys want to comment on that, whether to DC Knight or yourself?
So in looking at the numbers that are provided with regards to folks that are currently in the academy, so we have 2 that just recently graduated, another 1 that's graduating in May, and then 1 graduating in July. So that'll put us at 4, keeping in mind the 6 months, right, for any lag time with the field training.
Yep.
So that I would say that's 4 for sure. And then say we get the 2 the 2 laterals, that'll bring us to 6, right? I would anticipate at least 6 by the end of the year.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's great news. And I would just encourage you guys, like, if there's any ideas, anything that you can think of that we can help with to help accelerate those numbers, like, please bring it to our attention. We don't know what we don't know. Not just the 3 of us, but also the rest of the group, the rest of the crew at the council level. So we want to be helpful. because it's important for us to maintain that momentum going into 27. The next thing I wanted to quickly ask you guys about is, so you talked a lot about beats 4, 6, and to a lesser extent in 7 and 8, like people leaving keys in their vehicles.
Mhm.
So have you done any research, or are there any like suggestions you guys may have? I mean, I can think about a lot of reasons why folks may leave their keys in their car. A long day at work, really stressed out, a lot of stuff going on. But is there anything we can do, the council, the city, to raise awareness? Because I just don't want to put this on VPD all the time. Like, hey, do a sign, or, you know, let's put another campaign around. Like, what are some suggestions you guys have so we can all raise awareness around that?
Just, I mean, Sergeant Halls could certainly put something out on our social media posts, and then if you could do the same on the City of Vallejo post as well, because like you said, you know, there are so many different factors of why people leave their keys in their cars, whether they just forgot, long days of work. We have folks leaving their keys in their cars while, you know, they're warming it up, and, you know, in the morning especially, or even at the gas station, wherever it is. But there's a variety of different reasons. But with regards to educating, certainly, whether, you know, tackling it from both ends, using our social media as well as the city's social media would definitely raise awareness.
Okay. The steering wheel locks, I brought that up.
Yes.
It was a 90s memory for anyone in the audience who can go
The
back.
club.
The club. Taking it back to the club days. Do you think we should play a role in, like, making a tool like that available? Same thing with cameras. I'm just trying to really be pragmatic and, like, getting things out to community. So is there anything you suggest we do there, or did the data not back up, like, us making funds available for the club or a ring camera? Like, these are things I've seen other departments put some funds behind, but I wasn't sure if you guys felt like we needed to do that.
I think both of those would certainly help. I mean, we solve a majority of our crimes through technology, and with regards to ring cameras, those ring cameras are extremely helpful. So, yes.
We used to have the community service section, and they did have a ring camera initiative where they were passing out ring cameras during the neighborhood watch meetings and the community watch meetings. So that is something that I can talk to some of our old timers and get the blueprints on bringing that back to the PD.
And I think we can, as a group, we can recommend to the council that there be some funding set aside for you guys to, for that funding to be made available for you to push that program through the neighborhood watch group. Many other cities do it, so it's not like we're misusing taxpayer funds. It's a thing. This is done. All right, and then and then I'm done. I agree with the public commenter around agendizing sex trafficking. I think the thing that I was thinking about, want to thank you guys for that operation. And I know we've been doing a lot of work, having a lot of conversations about it, but what does the partnership with CBOs look like right now? How is that advancing? And is there a role for us to play in helping support a stronger partnership, stronger support for survivors? I know this is something that Councilmember Ledeju has spoken to repeatedly and often, and so just want to get a sense of where that is.
Yeah, so right now we have a two-prong approach. We are working with Cassandra James and the county supervisors. She is creating somewhat of a task force with the faith-based community and the community group organizations, while at the same time we are in the makings of a Solano County human trafficking task force. So we're coordinating a meeting / conference on May 27th with here in the Vallejo room, and we do have the county district attorney on board. We have all law enforcement agencies in Solano County on board. And we also are working with a lot of subject matter experts, including Sane SART and the South Bay Coalition to End Human Trafficking. So this is something that is definitely in the mix, and actually the signs that are being created are helped designed by the subject matter experts abroad as well.
Thank you for that, Sergeant Hollis. Councilmember Palmares, any other questions? Okay.
I don't hear anything. Microphone?
Sure, thanks.
Is this better?
All right. Yeah, let's figure out how we could do better. And then I think we owe it to the community that's immediately impacted to have another community engagement. If anything, we're telling what's going on, but also ultimately we get some feedback on how we can do better ourselves. So that's all. Thanks.
I'm also proud to announce that in your community, in your area, we also established a neighborhood watch group. So there's going to be a lot more resources that are going to get poured into that area once we get more feedback from the community, of course, to figure out, I received a lot of information from the last neighborhood watch that we weren't aware of that I was able to provide to our POP team, our problem-oriented policing team. So I'm seeing the light in the tunnel. I'm projecting the future. So this is something that we are doing and working with the community as well.
Okay. So just in terms of next steps there for record keeping purposes, you're gonna get some more information on some of those ring camera club programs that you guys were spearheading back in the day. You'll bring it back to us, and then we can make a formal recommendation as a committee. You will also share out any flyers, any signs with the council for us to just raise awareness around some of the theft that's taking place in beats across the city. And then you'll also provide a list of recommendations if there's additional actions you believe we should be taking to increase recruitment to the agency. So we talked about a lot. I want to open it up to our public for any additional comments or questions you may have, or any concerns. No? Going once. Yes, please come on up. You could come to the mic, please. Thank you. We've got folks tuning in over Zoom, so they're going to want to hear you too.
All right. Is this on? Okay. I've never spoke before, so I wrote it out. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Hi, I'm Amy. It's a nickname. Okay. I'm a survivor of CSAM and clergyman abuse. I've been in protective custody for 33 years. And as a certified advocate for other survivors, I see there is a need for feedback when it comes to protocols for human trafficking at the police departments. Protocol in other cities include collecting a list of participants from the RP and passing the case number to an investigator. Also, the victim is supposed to receive an advocate at the district attorney's office, and proper protection should be given to the victim and their family members right away. Aside from creating a protocol for for human trafficking, which is also child and adult trafficking, is education. Education on high-tech crimes by Silicon Valley. It would be in our best interest, not just for civilians, but for the protection of our officers as well. Some up-to-date 2026 human trafficking educational classes for all police officers and lobby staff are suffice. To serve victims who are being trafficked and violently harassed by their abusers who are not in jail yet. Violent harassments like multiple homicides, kidnappings, identity thefts deserve full attention and due diligence. I'm not a police officer, but I took an oath too. I'm an advocate. I'm a foster kid at 300 foster. I grew up to be an advocate for victims of violent crimes, especially when it involves disabled adults and children. Thanks.
And then also please add sex trafficking to our long-running agenda if you're fine with that, Councilmember Palmer. So we want it to be a standing item. I don't know if you need a vote from us on that. City Attorney Neb, do we need just checking? Do we need a vote on that to have a standing agenda item?
General direction, I think, for a subcommittee is fine. So if you
Okay.
both agree, I think that can be a standing item.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. All right, so we will go ahead and close this item and move right along to item 6, Vallejo PD's enhanced response to domestic violence initiative.
Greetings. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Lieutenant Josh Catham, Vallejo Police Department. I'm in charge of investigations. I oversee it. I want to update on the domestic violence thing, but first I want to touch on the recent homicide that was brought up by one of the community members. And what I want to say is I know the community wants answers about that case right now. We can't provide those right now because it is brand new. We are working on it, and we have a lot of information we're trying to process. And once some of that is cleared out and we have a resolution of that case, maybe some of those questions can be answered. But as it stands right now, I can't answer that. It's not fair to the victim, and it's not fair to the case. I need to maintain the integrity of the case. So that's one of the reasons you're not hearing a lot about it. Okay, thank you. That being said, the update to domestic violence is, since the last meeting, Councilmember Letajou was pretty adamant and I'd say correct in the thought process of getting everyone in a room and having a conversation. And that includes all the various support agencies and the police department. One of those meetings has happened. The police department was not a part of it, but since that meeting, I have met with the Family Justice Center and I have met with VEST, and myself and Tanya and her staff had a very lengthy and I'd say productive conversation, and so I'm appreciative for that. That meeting was attended by myself, Captain Bautista, and Rashad here, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was productive. So going forward, we would like to have a meeting with everyone that would be involved in this program and not necessarily have the police department decide who's going to provide services, but maybe get everyone in the room so we can discuss how these services would be provided. And I hope that's agreeable to everyone. It makes sense to me, and I agree with Councilmember Letajou on that process. Since the last meeting, I did meet with Nora of the Family Justice Center. She is producing and vetting a new pamphlet, and they made it pretty clear to us that our website is not very conducive to getting out contact information or support services. It's like 3 or 4 clicks to find the actual services. So I'm literally just waiting till we do have a finished product, and I'm going to make that a one-click process. You open the website, and it's right there for someone to find. It'll probably say something like Victims of Domestic Violence and Human Trafficking Resources. One click. We're talking about, and Nora is helping me with this, creating a small tri-fold card that is full of resources. Not a lot of description, not a lot of words, but it will list the agency and what the agency specializes in and a phone number. Our pamphlet does sometimes have some words about, we respect and, I don't know how to put it exactly. I don't know what it says, but we respect and want to wish the best services possible to people, blah, blah, blah. This is more of a down and dirty, here's a resource, here's a phone number. It would be about the size of a credit card. We can literally print them out, pass them out to our officers, and they can give them out at all times. I am going to talk about the pamphlet that DC Knight has, but I'm going to actually let Rashad talk about it because he knows a little bit more about it. And then the last thing I think as far as updates go is I was given this Solano County resource guide, which literally has every resource in Solano County listed in it. And I was talking with Nora about it, and I think this is going to go on the website as well, just for a quick link for anyone that needs a resource for anything, not necessarily domestic violence or human trafficking, but whatever type of service that's available to someone that is in need of a service. So things are moving forward. We're talking with Tanya about some lethality assessment training. I think that meeting is on Friday, 10 a.m. And so I will have an update on that at the next meeting. If you don't mind, can you talk about that pamphlet?
First of all, I'd like to give all thanks to Miss Jackie Wonder, who is, I believe she's the founder of Sweet Treatments on Sonoma Boulevard. She has, for a long time, been working on a Vallejo family resource guide. Once I found out about this resource guide and all the resources that were poured into this guide, I knew that this would be an outstanding opportunity to put more resources in directed towards domestic violence, human trafficking, and just any type of crime that needs advocacy. And with the help of Kaiser and the city of Vallejo, along with DC Knight allowing us to partner with them, we were able to order over 10,000 booklets. And in these booklets, it's kind of like a one-stop shop. It informs you on all the district council members and their district. It has a beat map and a district map. It talks about the mayor. It talks about resources that are for kids, resources that are for adults, resources that are for victims. Is kind of centric, so it allows us not only to provide this to people who are survivors, and it's not such a in-your-face, you're a victim pamphlet. It's more of a, hey, this is a resource guide for all. Not only does this prevent abusers from snatching it and ripping it up, because it's kind of like it's kind of like a hidden jewel, if that makes sense. So this is something that I'm very proud to work with Miss Jackie, and we created 10,000 of these. So thank you, City of Vallejo, thank you, VPD, and thank you, Kaiser, and whoever else that I'm missing in the production of this. Thank you for helping us produce this. And this is something that not only will we be providing to survivors, we will also be providing this to anyone who needs advocacy, that And of course, this is a fluid booklet, so if there is anything in this, if there's any resources that are local and available that we miss, please contact me, so we can add that resource to this booklet. And this will be updated on the spot online, but the book will be printed annually.
Thank you for that report. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the item for public comment. Any members of the public that would like to address this item may do so. So let me just look out into the audience. Is there a report out from our CBOs as well? And then if you guys have any comments or questions, you're more than welcome to come up right after this report out. Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Tanya Brownrigg with VEST. I did want to share the meeting with Vallejo PD. Went absolutely amazing. Prior to the meeting, Carrie and I from Sane Start, we strategized and we scheduled a meeting with other victim service providers in Solano County. So we met prior to meeting with Vallejo PD to really find out capacity within our county. We met with SafeQuest, the Justice Center, Safe Center, as well as, am I missing anyone else? That's everyone. And St. Start, of course, was there. We did it in their office. Very productive, just really tapping into specialization, like Lieutenant Josh just mentioned, and learning that there's a major capacity issue within Solano County. So with that, I shared a lot of the information during our meeting for Vallejo PD, and I proposed a coordinated community response program and a program solely for Vallejo because there are capacity issues within Solano County. I recommended Vallejo having its own domestic violence program. In our meeting, I also invited SafeQuest to the table, and they came and they met with us in Vallejo PD, and we also talked about shelter. There's only one shelter right now that they have in Fairfield for the entire Solano County. There's not capacity to house all the victims with the 42% increase. It's just not. So it's really time for Vallejo to invest in its own program. And I did provide the budget and the proposal to Vallejo PD, and it's something we're in discussion about. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that part of it as well. All right, that's it.
Thank you so much for that report, and really appreciate the continued partnership. Any members of the public with any comments or questions?
Good evening, everyone. Nora Martinez from the Family Justice Center, Solano. I just want to present some of the recommendations that were provided to Lieutenant Catham earlier in the month in regards to the brochure, website, and trifold card that he shared. I brought copies for everybody, but I do want to share that we reviewed the existing victim service agencies listed on all three. There were 3 total pamphlets that survivors were being handed out. We suggested really condensing those to one brochure that is available on the website and with the officers to provide to survivors. We suggested that they please confirm that contact information is up to date, confirming the availability of the 24-hour services and shelter intake hours on it, and providing a brief description of the scope of work for these services so folks have a little bit more understanding of what they're looking at. Another suggestion was that the pamphlets and trifold cards be available in various languages, including Spanish and Tagalog, particularly here in Vallejo. An annual review of resources listed on the pamphlets and trifold cards to be completed, and of course, as mentioned, the review of accessibility of the victim services resources on the Vallejo PD website. As it was mentioned, right now it takes around 3 to 4 clicks to get to something, so we are suggesting that that be front and center on the website. So pending the confirmation of all the resources on the existing cards that are up to date and reviewed by the respective victim service agencies, we will provide that updated document to VPD for their review and hopefully be able to expedite getting that brochure and trifold card ready to go. I also brought forward the survey report from the trainings that were done in January and February. Wanted to just uplift some of the suggestions coming directly from the officers that are servicing Vallejo, and its needs that they are seeing when supporting survivors. Top three were the night shift and 24-hour access to resources, additional resources on what they've already had, and some logistical improvements in really being able to offer these supports not only to the survivors that are willing to file reports, but the survivors that are not quite ready to engage with advocacy agencies or with police department as a whole. So we're really trying to get creative in offering all of these additional supports. I love the idea of having that updated Vallejo resource guide, and I also provided the Children's Network resources that we can add to the website as well. But yeah, little brief update. Excited to keep seeing this forward and seeing what comes for next month.
Thank you for that report. Councilmember Palmares.
Yes, thank you for the CBOs for presenting. The only thing I want to mention, and I mentioned this at the last time we spoke about this, at least when I spoke about this, is I'm hoping, and I would really encourage Vision to also, I know we're still rolling it out, but just carve a little bit of that candidate list for something related to intimate partner violence intervention. Focus deterrence, it can go to group violence intervention, but it can also lead to intimate partner violence intervention. And if it's the same model and we're already setting it up, you know, let's see what we could do to that. I'm not too familiar with it, to be honest with you, but if it's part of the same model, you know, I would highly encourage us to see how we could use that to reduce these numbers. You know, up to 50% increase from last year is too much. So I'm looking forward to the next time we talk about this, have an update on how we could add that to the candidate list. It doesn't have to be all the prolific offenders out there, but if we could add one or two to the candidate list, that'll be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. So, two, possibly three quick things here. Number one, so since we started this conversation in the subcommittee, there's been discussion around the development of a pamphlet. There's been meetings with CBOs. There's been discussion and, I guess, partial implementation of the lethality assessment. Correct me if I'm wrong, if there's anything I'm missing on any of these. There's been training for VPD. We also secured a grant that has to do with hospital-based violence intervention. Does that touch on domestic violence? Is any of that funding flowing? I know we approved it at a council meeting recently. I hope I'm not tripping. Just possible.
As council member, good evening. Bob Knight, Deputy Chief of Police. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Several of our initiatives, Vision, hospital-based intervention, where the framework was created to address gun violence. So it is gun violence centric, but we have Dr. Deanna Carter here that could speak to potentially that model and how it can be implemented for other crime types. To your point, Councilmember Palmares, these are strategies and concepts that can be applied to other crime types. Is that the grant funding, though, I believe, and Deanna help me, I believe was specific to gun violence, but I'll let her speak on it.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. So yeah, it is specific to gun violence, but I do understand that in some domestic violence situations, there might be a gun involved or a threat of a gun involved, and I would imagine that those would be the cases that will be referred to Vision, those candidates who are threatening to harm someone in an intimate partner violence situation. We are focusing mainly on the guns, and so I think that's good that we're clearing that up, because at first people thought it was all forms of violence, but for the Visions, it's specifics to guns. And so in the situations, and actually we have an MOU with VEST. So in those circumstances where a gun is involved, we will make sure that we let the police know, and if the police knew the gun was involved, that those one or two that Palmaris just mentioned could be referred to us for support.
Thank you for that. And I definitely agree with Councilmember Palmaris' recommendation as it relates to vision. So we have that. And then the other thing I wanted to call out is, so say you guys get a call and it's a domestic violence call. Right now you don't have any space in your protocol to have an advocate join you on that phone call that comes in, right? Do you or do you not?
No, I think we do. We haven't necessarily gone through the lethality assessment training where we're going to put a phone in someone's hand just yet to speak to an advocate, but we do have iHeart, and we do have a 24-hour line to SafeQuest that if it is so bad, we can get them in touch with someone. But the training to do that isn't necessarily completed yet for the officers. So we had these trainings at our advanced officer training, which occurs bi-monthly, bi-monthly. And so we went through what domestic violence victims go through and how they perceive police and some things we should be aware of about how they may feel in the moment, which could be cooperative, could not be cooperative, but at the same time, how important it is to get them in touch with an advocate. And so since those trainings has happened, we have been much more productive in getting victims in contact with advocates as in before we probably weren't. We were giving them a pamphlet and that was it.
So let me expand, if you can come up, Ms. Browning, because I have a question for you. This is going somewhere, I promise. I just did some cursory research around this, and I think it's the county of San Mateo. If a call comes in, an advocate can go with a police officer to respond to a phone call. So, am I off base? Is that really a thing across the state? And would you suggest that we move in that direction, or is that something that your organization is sort of handling through a referral process? I just want to better understand. And
you're on point. I provided 4 different models to Vallejo PD when I presented to them, and that's one of the options for an advocate to do a ride-along, an advocate to be stationed at the Vallejo PD, for them to call and do a warm handoff. That's something they are working towards. Right now, it's just a resource card, right? Or if it's after hours, it's to SafeQuest. Give the resource card, the phone number to SafeQuest. And that's ideally, it's not the best practice. Yeah, but they do have the multiple options, and we're in conversation about what that looks like for Vallejo PD. Yeah, but that is the best practice that you're talking about.
And so if I can just jump in on
Yeah,
that.
of course.
During the meeting, since we've had these trainings, iHeart has literally been picking up victims and bringing them to VEST. That wasn't happening before. So it's improving. There's a whole bunch more room for improvement, though. Absolutely.
And I'm not suggesting you guys are doing anything wrong, by the way. What I'm calling out is, what is our current state, and then what should our ideal state be in the future? So I'm just asking questions because we've been doing a lot of work like the past couple months, and I just want to make sure that we don't just stay in sort of what we're doing right now, but we're also thinking about what should this look like in the future, which is where I'm going. Yes.
That's what we want to. We
Yeah.
want to move it forward. We don't want to get stuck in a holding pattern.
Yeah.
So we can do better. Let me put it that way.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
And
when we're talking about lab lethality assessment, right, that's something we're going to have a conversation about and some input on Friday at 10 a.m. iHeart is doing more of the lower level domestic violence, but our goal with Vallejo PD is the high risk, the potential to homicide. So that's one of the focal points for sure. iHeart has been bringing clients to the best door since we moved, like literally just showing up at the door. I'm like, hey, I got a victim. Are you all available? Absolutely. Come on in. So yeah, that relationship has been going on since last year around July or August. Yeah. So that's happening. happening.
Thank you for that. And then, so the reason why I'm asking these questions is because this has been a standing item on our agenda for several months, and there's a lot of time and effort going into this. In the same way that we talked about sex trafficking, in the same way that we've talked about traffic safety, like what I would like for us to move towards is like an action plan. It could be a one-pager, right? These are the sort of areas we're tackling over the next like 12 to 15 months. These are the folks involved. This is the associated like funding request. And what I will say, and this is just my personal opinion, this is not a committee opinion, is that we're dealing with violent crime. We're also dealing with a lot of issues that have been here, systemic issues in our community for decades. And so it's going to take a systemic level amount of investment to build infrastructure and CBOs. And to that end, I would like to see a more solidified partnership with the county and have the county support in this effort, because it's unacceptable for us to have like one shelter location, out of Fairfield for the whole county. That's not a knock on the county, because these things have been evolving, but we have to get to a place where, yes, Vallejo takes the lead in responding to this because these are Vallejo issues, but we are getting some support from the county, and I don't know what that looks like. I do think that there should be a more formal agreement to help steward that work. And so my personal request would just be at our next meeting, or if you need 2 meetings to make that happen, that we actually start to put on paper, like, this is what we've done. This is sort of the goal of this is where we're headed. And to get us there, this is the level of funding that we need. These organizations can't keep doing work for free. I mean, I'm just going to be straight up. And so how do we make sure we sustain the work that they're doing and do so in a way we're supporting survivors? And I think that we have a responsibility to play in that. So those are my comments. I'm going to pass it over to Councilmember Letterju, who's just joined, for any comments or questions.
Can I just add one thing? One of the things we also spoke about that I proposed, we don't have a domestic violence murder review team in Solano County. I did propose that as part of the program that VES is proposing to start in Vallejo. Full transparency once we're able to share the details. So then organizations like VES and the Family Justice Center, we understand what we need to do differently, right? There's a high potential that the victim never reached out to any of the DV organizations or Vallejo PD, but trying to really understand what we can do better as a community. So that's the goal for the murder review team. Yeah.
Can I just say one more thing, just to address your comments? I do have a working draft copy of a proposal for this program. It kind of gives a timeline of stages and what's going to happen and in the right order. And I also have an outline of, a working outline of what has been accomplished and what still needs to be accomplished. And I'm happy to provide those. I don't have them with me right now, but totally happy to bring those forward.
Thanks. I actually was listening online, and I just want to thank VEST and PD for meeting and the work that's going on, because it's really important that all of our providers are working together. But the fact of the matter is we do have an organization here, and we do need to make sure that we're tightly knitted with that organization as we're doing this work, and allowing VEST to lead in that work here for the city of Vallejo. And I think we can work with the county, and particularly with our District 1 supervisor, around what else can we do, what other supports can we have from the county, and even how this work continues to be daylighted throughout our county. There is regional work that is going on around domestic violence, and there is a roundtable that's held every month around domestic violence as well. that happens, that she does chair and work with her Supervisor James, as well as Mayor Alma Hernandez and other elected officials are sitting at that table. We're sitting at that table having discussions with Love Never Fails and Best, Same Start, and so forth and on. So this work is regional work, but we need to do our work as well for our city. And I really am interested in the next phase, the next component, because it does tell us when we have a murder, when we have a loss of life, you know, it gives us data about how well we're able to put out that information and where we have gaps and what do we need to do about those gaps. And the fact of the matter is, when we have the regional, like, World Cups and all of these different things, you know, there's also a network of county supervisors working around sex trafficking, working around immigration, and so forth and on. And it's how do we get connected to that work? It's important that, yes, the county's connected, but how does the city of Vallejo get connected to that work? Because when we have these large events, there is an increase in trafficking. And we already know that we have sex trafficking, we have sex work going on, and so forth and on. So it leaves us open for an influx when we're having all these different events. And how are we regionally coordinating around those events is really important. Is our ear on the ground? Do we understand what's coming? And how are we then ramping up for those unusual times when there's the different activities around sports activities that are occurring within our region, right? So I'm really happy and I'm pleased to say that we are moving in the right direction, and we have spent a lot of time in this area, and it's a very important work, and I don't ever think that we'll stop talking about it unless we can completely solve it. And I would love to do that as well. And I want to thank Best, iHeart, and Vallejo Police Department. You came to the Glen Cove Association meeting, I think it was last month, and you were there tabling, presenting, and domestic violence has gone up in Glen Cove in District 3, but particularly in Glen Cove. And so the reception to Vest being there was well received. And so we also need to think about in community, how are we out in community talking about domestic violence? It's real. It is very real. And it happens in affluent homes just as well as under income homes. And so it happens in professional homes. It happens in homes where there are safety personnel. You know, I can get really real about this. And so we need to be vigilant about this subject matter in our city. This is just as important as having police on the streets and people being able to take care of themselves. And it harms our children when they're having to live in these environments. So what are the other ways that we can bring awareness to our communities as you're doing work? As my colleague talked about, developing a plan so we can see what does that plan look like? How do we, from a council perspective, support you in that plan? How do we support our service providers in that plan? And how are we finding funding to elevate this work in our community? So thank you, Tanya, for the work that you do, and all of your teams and all of your colleagues that do this work. And again, thank you, VPD.
Thank you.
May I touch on that too?
Yes.
I'll say this. When this started, you're talking to someone who was a policeman, patrolman that was handing out pamphlets to people. And let's say the journey from actually speaking to advocates and having meetings with them. Every meeting I'm learning something new, and I think this is probably going to continue. Like, I have a draft of what this looks like, but it's going to change. It's going to get better. So that's what I want, and so I don't think you're wrong about that. And frankly, it's a good journey to be on.
Go Going once on public comment, going twice. We'll close item 6. This is a standing item, so it will come back next month. Our action calendar, we only have one this evening. Traffic safety and abandoned vehicle abatement update. We've seen substantial progress in that area. Want to commend VPD for that. And so, yeah, let's dive in. What do you got?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Leonard Almon. I am a sergeant assigned to the traffic division. You're normally used to seeing Lieutenant Huff, but however, he was involved in a collision last week and was injured, so I'm taking his place for now until he recovers to come back to work. Just as a review, I know we shared with you the stats or the statistics for March. For the abandoned vehicles right now, so just to talk about our staff in the traffic division, I'm the sergeant, and as I said, Lieutenant Huff is off due to the injury. I have 2 officers that are assigned to me, 1 senior police assistant, 1 part-time cadet, well, she's attending college. And for the stats for March, if you look at your form there that we handed out, as of right now, we have 1,260 vehicles listed in See-Click-Fix, or the abandoned vehicles. I know several months ago, there was a little over 4,000. However, after we staffed the traffic division a bit more with our support staff, with our police assistants and officers, we were able to knock that number back down. Aside from having 1 police assistant assigned to us, other police assistants that are assigned to patrol in their downtime have been assisting us with that in between their calls for service or self-dispatch calls, taking property crime reports. For March 2026, there were 403 reported, approximately 150 were towed, and we went out and looked at approximately 672 vehicles out there. For citations, the department has issued more than 500 citations. Your top 3 violations that we're citing for is going to be stop sign violations. So someone that is going through an intersection, failing to stop completely, our officers are going out there and educating and conducting enforcement by issuing citations to the drivers. The second tier is going to be your speed for conditions. You'll see a lot of our motor officers, not all, 2 of our motor officers, they're out there on high speed or reported high speed areas, people that are traveling more than or faster than the posted speed limit. They'll be using radars, LiDARs. They issue mostly citations, not so much warnings, so that the public and the community is aware that they need to slow down to prevent the collisions, which is the main idea or reason why we're conducting these enforcements, is to lower the amount of collisions that are occurring in our city. Your third one's going to be red light violations. So a lot of these are either on viewed or involved in collisions where the officers that are dispatched to that, whether it's your motor officers or your officers on patrol, are citing for those violations there. Some of your the top 3 that we just talked about, which was your stop sign violations, your speed, and your red light violations, those are just your citations. When we look at your primary collision factor, so those are normally your number 1 reason why that collision occurred based on the officer's investigation. Your top 3 is going to be improper turning. Maybe you're in the wrong lane when you're making that movement, or there's a bend in the road and you're not navigating through the roadway and you struck a curb, planter box, center median. And the second one is unsafe speed. So at times it could be more than just one thing. It could be speed. It could be also your turning movement that caused that collision. And your last one, your top 3, is going to be auto right-of-way violations. Typically, those are most of your yield where the vehicle going straight has the right of way, and the other party who is turning into private property, business, home, they typically don't yield, and a collision occurs. As far as the evidence tow, the amount of vehicles that are in evidence for the traffic division, as of today, there are 15 vehicles. We would like to get that number down based on how much it's costing the city or the department. But a lot of those vehicles are either the cases are under review, they're with the district attorney's office that they need it for evidence, or defense requests that the evidence be held until a set court date. But as soon as we are made aware, also we're proactive and we do monthly audits where if there's a finding or a deposition on the case, we release that vehicle so that we don't have to spend extra money than we need to. To date, for this year alone, we have 7 fatal collisions. Of these 7 fatal collisions, they are assigned to our 2 officers assigned to the traffic division. They could be overwhelmed. It could be a very complex case. So I try to do what I can and assist or take over an investigation so that our officers can go out there and issue more citations, be more proactive. We also work with CHP. We also work with the city for the traffic engineer side on what they can do to improve the roadways, congestion, lower the amount of collisions that are occurring. I can turn that over to Mr. Chu, who can cover any updates with engineering on the roadways.
Tony Chu, Transportation Superintendent, also the City Traffic Engineer, dual head at the moment. As we all know, it's under budgetary constraints. Traffic engineering position is on hold for now for recruitment and hiring. So a few things I'm going to go over. I'm sure you've seen going around implementation-wise is traffic calming. So traffic calming comes in many different approaches, but the ones that you see often now that's been vetted through city attorney's office, city manager's office, are the speed tables. So speed tables are ramp up 4 foot to 6 foot ramp up from zero flush pavement down up to 3 to 3.5 inches high for about 10 feet, and then goes back down 4 feet to 6 feet to flush pavement. So that's on Wilson Avenue right now. It's also Wilson at B Street, Benson, and Sims, northbound, southbound, and then 2 on Tuolumne Street at about 1100 block of Tuolumne Street, just north and south of Nebraska Street. So those slow down the traffic, but it's vetted by fire because they can traverse it better and their equipment can handle it better, and their personnel won't have a great impact when the vehicles, their engines strike it, and then they can navigate it better versus the speed humps that really are jarring to their equipment and the personnel. In addition to, now we're also pushing out traffic circles. Those are typically residential areas, but we've also installed it there at Minnie and Lewis Brown. That was a hot spot for a number of years. We've installed it there where taking away 2 lanes each direction to make it a single lane approach for all directions. Big roundabout in the center. Understand it's not the best scenario for equipment to navigate and making a U-turn, left turns, but they still can run over the center medians with the reflector plastic delineators. So that really reduced the sideshow activity there. I understand that, you know, they practice at other intersections, Santa Clara at Ohio Street, you know, all the other smaller ones, but we only can limit them out so much as well with bigger vehicles going through there, and in addition, delivery vehicles that still need to navigate those. Then we also have Vision Zero, which we're targeting, trying to have 0 fatalities, 0 collisions throughout the city, but we targeted 2 schools in particular so far. Is Hogan Middle School on Georgia Street between Oakwood and Rollingwood. So we're planning on, actually Public Works is going to have that street paved and we're restriping that, so it's going to be, instead of 2 lanes each direction, similar situation. We're narrowing it down to it's a road diet, so single lane each direction, parking on the outside, curb lanes, bike lane as needed, and then we're going to have a single lane travel lane, and then that's it. So we're narrowing all the roadways, so then you have enough opportunity for the pedestrians to cross from the curbs. Intersections are narrowed down, so they don't have that much to cross, versus 4 lanes they're crossing, they're just crossing 2 lanes of traffic. And then Glen Cove Elementary, same thing, coming southbound Glen Cove Parkway. It's not ideal to put those speed tables on vertical grade, because as you can imagine, you're coming down grade, you're doing a horizontal alignment or S-curve. They lose control, they hit that, they're going to launch them somewhere else. So Fires obviously disapproved that, in addition to myself has not approved that. So we're going to have we gave options to the Glen Cove Association. So you're here. So along with the association, the vice president, but there's number of options we provided them. We did research with consultant Fair and Pierce. We're at Wardlaw Elementary School, similar situation, coming northbound Oakwood at Redwood. It's a trap, right lane is gonna be a trap lane. So if you're coming down Glen Cove Parkway, it's gonna be a right lane, is gonna be a trap lane. So basically you have to make a right turn, right hand, if you're in the right lane to go into school in North Regatta. The left lane, you're gonna get sent straight, and that's gonna continue. Instead of that small segment between North Regatta and South Regatta of 2 lanes, that's going to get single lane all the way down to South Regatta, because it's going to narrow down at South Regatta anyways at that park. So it doesn't make sense, and it's not needed. So that's my recommendations for slowing down all this traffic. Same thing, Tuolumne Street at April 27th, where the grandmother was walking her twin granddaughters across the street, where the grandmother and the granddaughter was hit, right, struck in the crosswalk. So what happened there in Delmar Avenue, they're coming out, it's a resident, or it could be someone, driving by, but it was an eastbound left turn coming out of the side street, making a left turn heading north on Tuolumne. However, they're distracted. So cell phone, makeup, whatever, right, eating, they're distracted, struck the grandma and one of the twin daughters, got knocked on the ground. So I've already contacted, I went out there this morning, I told Assistant City Manager Nalungo that and assess the situation. So as it's a similar situation at Fairgrounds at Taper, just north of 37 right there, similar situation where side street coming out to Fairgrounds, struck a pedestrian. I recommend the exclusive pedestrian phase, which means when that pedestrian pushes that pedestrian push button, everybody that's in the vehicle has a red indication. So traffic signal, all movements on vehicular movements, all red. That pedestrian gets served crossing Fairgrounds or Taper Avenue. So I recommend that for Tuolumne at Delmar, that's Cooper Elementary. So all traffic's going to stop whenever the pedestrian pushes that button. And then improvements that I recommend as well, but we're in talks and reviewed by Veronica's already. I sent out that email for review, but there's a lot of implementation that you can ramp down and push. All the the residents have to come out as well, so you have to obviously there's site conditions out there to be aware of. There's Soul Trans bus stops on northwest and southeast corners, so there's a lot of factors that I've got to mitigate. But that's some of the things I've gone through. I know I went through a lot, but that's some of the things I've been working on. I'm the only one on my team, so but I'm assisting as best I can. So for now, I'm here for any questions that you may have.
Thank you for that, DC Knight. Sure.
So, under traffic safety and abandoned vehicles, I just wanted to report out some good news, some good progress. As Sergeant Alamon mentioned, we've had our journey from over 4,000 vehicles. We had about a plateau point of about 2,000 vehicles. We engaged in a variety of strategies that have got us now, we're hovering around 1,000. Sometimes we're in the 900s. I think we're about in the 1,200s. So we're hovering now at about that 1,000 mark. Something that we've got very good progress. I want to thank Lieutenant Huff and the traffic division. I want to thank the city attorney's office. We've got a good update, and I'll let City Attorney Neb give it to you about our biggest strategy of building capacity in our tow yards. So we've gotten some recent update that I will let her give, but what that will allow us to do is embark on the quickest, and Sergeant Allman knows this well, one of the biggest strategies is tow sweeps. We were able to meet with Richmond PD and find out all of the things that they're doing at Richmond PD. Proud to say we have the capacity to do all of those things, and we do all those things. But we don't have, one thing that they don't have a problem with that we do is tow capacity. So I will turn it over to City Attorney Knapp to give the update on that.
Thanks, DC. So we have been in some pretty significant discussions with PD about strategies relating to tows, the tow contracts, how we had approached same in the past, and what improvements to the overall program that we could make that could both increase capacity and speed with regard to removing vehicles from the streets, getting them to the tow yards. The contract is in, it's the revised contract that is adopting some of these strategies into the contract itself, then to go out to some additional tow companies that aren't currently in our rotations, is in its very final stages. And we anticipate within the next week to 2 weeks having that in its absolute final stage. There's a couple of choice points in there that we're still working on a little bit, but with the goal to be able to put that out by the end of this month and have it go, I'll call it go live to for active. But those contracts all provide, and part of the strategy again was that the new contracts will be their effective date as July 1st, which would be the new fiscal year. We've also done some work around, and I think you heard a little bit about our evidence storage tows, and you've heard a lot about how much that's costing the city over the last year, and what that looks like from the unfortunate perspective of we haven't had a lot of control over that issue. We've developed a bit of a strategy moving forward to gain more control over that issue and more predictability of cost. And so we're rolling that out soon. I'll say within a few weeks, the first phase of that, and then there will be a second phase of that designed around we are not the permanent storage place for evidence that we cannot control the cost of. So that's kind of the progress that we've made to date. I think we'll be seeing some significant upticks with the new fiscal year and those contracts actually being in place at that time. But we're going to go live before that to put those out and hope to gain some additional capacity.
Thank you for that. Going to open it up to the public for any comments or any questions, or any concerns. Come on up.
If it's green, it's on. Is it on? Well, to hear that we're down to 1,000 reports behind, that's music to my ears. I've been following this issue for 7 years now. What's really going to be cool about it is when you're 2,000 behind, you go out to half the cars and they're gone. So you're wasting half of the day. So it's going to be exponentially better and better. Sergeant, you had some volunteers in the pipeline maybe to help out with searching for vehicles that are probably gone already?
Yes, sir. We are organizing that. Literally, we're organizing that this afternoon. We have a few volunteers. I have 2 vehicles where they can go into the public and just check off vehicles. If they're there, great. If they aren't there, we can remove them from C-Click Fix. I will be reaching out to Sergeant Alamon this week to see what time best fits them to organize that operation.
Yeah, that's great. Guy across the street from me, he's had one vehicle in front of his house for a year and a half. So I'm hoping, he's already been noticed once, but he just tore the notice off, and like many people do. But thanks to everybody. Oh, by the way, the thing we can go in front of the police station and exchange and so forth. I'm amazed that happened already. That's fantastic, because, as I said the last time, a friend of a friend was murdered in Fairfield because they just tried to exchange money on a street corner, and the lady killed him. But anyway, thanks for doing that. I guess you get the credit for that. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. You brought it up the last meeting, so thank you for bringing that idea. Appreciate you. And if any others have ideas on things we could be doing to improve, like, please share them with us, because we don't have all the solutions to all the things. Any other comments or questions from the public? Yes, please come on up.
I just had a really quick one this time. I know some of you remember that a 12-year-old child was very gravely injured at the intersection of Sacramento and Louisiana, a bit back. It's like less than 100 feet from one of the city's largest playgrounds, City Park. And I'm very grateful for the prompt response that happened after, that there was a prompt response. But the child was struck at the crosswalk, and the speed table that was placed was actually put where his body came to rest, not where he was hit. So the speed table's in the center of the block. And there are signs that there's children crossing at the intersection, but there's no other traffic interventions on the intersection itself. And I will say that the signs surprised me that there was some reduction, but we still have people going through for fun around that intersection all the time. I have video of someone doing this in the middle of the day just a few days ago, and I think the signs are really fun for people to hit because they go all over the place, and sometimes we pin them back on the ground. So I'm just wondering, I'm not asking for us to be prioritized over an elementary school area that hasn't been addressed yet, but perhaps there could be some community engagement before making those decisions so that we could save the city some time and maybe some money and having to possibly go back in that area. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yes, Mr. Drew.
I'd like to address that if you're still there. Yeah, we okay. Yes, that's fine. I just want to reach out that we did reach out to, we did send out flyers. I went, okay, and okay. Just want to make sure, because we did reach out and we did put flyers at. I did it personally, actually myself. So at each door and return receipt actually. So if you didn't reach out, there's only a certain way. Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, all right, just making sure. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So I'm gonna move it to our committee members. Any comments or questions? Yes, please.
So first of all, thank you, Sergeant Alaman. I know you're holding it down, and yeah, I know your workload is double now because of Lieutenant Huff. And I said at the last city council meeting, but I do, wish Lieutenant Huff a speedy recovery and hope he's going to be all right at the end of this. And also, I tip my hat to Lieutenant Huff because that, as far as I know, that two-tier vendor idea, that concept came from him. So that's great. And, I think this is kind of the breakthrough we're looking for as far as like really addressing the abandoned vehicles. So let me get to some of my questions. With regard to this new concept, now my understanding is there's two tiers to this, and I apologize for using the term tiers, but that's the way I conceptualize it. But one is going to be for vehicles that are part of an emergency kind of situation, and another is going to be for just abandoned vehicles that don't need to be picked up right now, but maybe sometime in the week or so. Is that correct?
Partially. So we call it lists. So it's two rotational lists, and
Got it.
rotation
Okay.
meaning one tow company's on the rotation, they take the next tow, and it just goes in a consistent rotation. So we intend for we call it, lack of a better term, the good list and the bad list, right? And I say that I know I shouldn't say that, but it's from a money-making standpoint. They're a business, right? So the tow list in which they will make money, because dealing with our tow rotations, it's not a contractual, we pay them money to do this. They do it as part of their business model. So if, for instance, a very common one, they respond to a collision where vehicles are not drivable. They will impound tow those vehicles and get money for the insurance company, and et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes a driver may be arrested and or cited for being unlicensed, and that registered owner wants to get their car back. Those are tows from the first list that they will receive money for. But the tow companies that are on the rotation, just from the luck of the rotation, they might go abandoned car. Okay, the good tows came around, the money-making tows came around. Oh, I get another abandoned car. If we pull from two lists, it's more equitable. We think that will increase response. It will increase less turning down abandoned vehicles, because if they call from the abandoned vehicle list, they know they will get equally called for the money-making list. So we think, Lieutenant Huff thinks, I agree with him, I think we agree with him, that's a better concept. And having multiple lists, rotational list, is going to be a better way to get the tow companies engaged. We will like to go from 7 tow companies to potentially 10 tow companies, maybe 11, because we have to pull from a certain geographic region where it doesn't take too long for them to get here. But I think we're going to be in a lot better shape. Once we get more capacity, then, like I said before, we can do tow sweeps. That's how you get big chunks of vehicle off the list in a short amount of time.
That's perfect. And our meeting that we had with Richmond PD, one thing I did notice was that one of the things that they do differently is they utilize civilian parking enforcement, I believe, as part of their vehicle abatement strategy. So it doesn't have to be a sworn officer, but they go out there and identify which is the abandoned vehicle that needs to be abated, and then they just either stay there or they flag it or something for the tow company to come over. I wonder if that's something we could explore. My understanding is that years ago we used to just say, hey, pick up these vehicles, and the sworn officer doesn't need to be there. Is that something we could return to, or some sort of hybrid model of what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, and that's something I had begun talking to the Lieutenant Huff about. I probably need to get you up to speed. We just wanted to talk about the concept of filling out CHP 180s and turning them into the tow company for them to tow them later. I know we did do that years back. There may be a reason we stopped, but I think we want to just flush that out altogether and find out if we did stop, why. If for no other reason, let's try to do it again. That way, a person, the parking officers in Richmond, when I heard him say that, and when I talked to them subsequently, those sound like our police assistants or our police cadets. So it's a similar classification, right?
Okay.
So we could use our police assistants to do that, in which they could fill out the 180s and potentially have those tows towed away later. Again, there might be some logistics I don't know about, but we could talk about that offline. That could also help.
Absolutely. I mean, that could be not the game changer, but it could make things a little bit more efficient. Two things about the public works thing. So my understanding that there is a road diet that's forthcoming on Sacramento Street. Are we complete with the design yet?
Complete is design. Design is completed. Yes.
Design's complete. And so what are we waiting for right now for that?
I think it's still the labor agreement, if I recall. I'm not. That's not one of my projects, but I'm familiar with the design.
I see.
Up to Frisbee from Continue, but I think they're still waiting on the project labor agreement to be finalized.
I see. And I know you and I were working pretty closely as far as traffic calming around City Park and St. Vincent's Hill. One of the first things that we did was put the speed tables there. But originally we had a design that was actually a little more aggressive than that. And I think, we're talking about like see if it worked and see if if the residents liked it. I haven't heard any complaints, but I mean, is that something, and we could talk about this offline, but is that something we could also revisit as far as like adding the additional infrastructure there to increase the safety? And I just want to caveat that, I want to revisit this, especially in light of the recent accident or collision that happened near the school. So, go on.
Yes, those were tabled because we were still deciding on implementation-wise. Since we had consolidated engineering do those 6 for Wilson Avenue, and they included those on Tuolumne, it was a challenge for our crew to do just the 2 on the north and south side of City Park. So now we'll ramp up as we can and include those with the new Public Works director that came on board on Monday. So.
Yeah.
Interim Public Works Director Alcantara was not a fan of all the additional aspects of it, but we'll see what the new director has in store, if he approves that, or we can explain it and talk offline about that.
Sure, absolutely. It's worth the conversation, and bring up the speed tables on Wilson Avenue. As far as the people that talk to me, everyone's a fan. So kudos to you, and thanks for making that happen.
One thing I've got to update the PD on that as well, so they're aware. Their officers going through there because they weren't aware of that. So I'll update those offline with them, so when they go through there, they're okay at when capacity comes. So because that's why it's taken so long, because it's a collector / arterial roadway in addition to Tuolumne Street. Those ones that go, collect all the streets, or comes into from the residential onto one of the main streets or arteries, if you will, that goes through the city, north, south, east, west. So that's why we typically do not like to install them on those streets, even though there's homes fronting those.
Yeah. Okay.
Just for people's education and why that it's taken so long, and ultimately, It's been done, but we'll see. What happens too. We can always remove them as well.
Yeah, I respect that. It is a process. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Ledger, any comments or questions? Okay. So before I go into my questions, there's been a lot of talk around the city. I get questions because I pushed for the sales tax measure a few years ago on roads. So can anyone give me an update on where we are with 25 allocation that the council made for road rehabilitation? And then what's the timeline for the 26 road repavement and rehabilitation, which we also approved? So it's like 20-some million dollars that just in the past year we've signed off on. There's so I would just like to get a general update on where we are with that project, and then if you can speak to the steps involved in like repaving a road, just for the public's edification, that would also be helpful. This is also part of traffic safety.
So thank you for your question. I'm hoping this works. So as far as the money that was allocated, I think 25, 26 is current fiscal year through Measure P. I know that Assistant Director Alcantar has issued several RFPs, and I know that, I don't know if all the contracts have been awarded, but I believe that there's some that are coming on the, what's the next agenda, 12th? For the 12th, and then also for the 26th regarding potholes and then slurry seals. So some of that work is going to start now. I believe that a lot of it is intended to start during the springtime and then go through the summer. And I believe that 80% of the work should be completed if it goes on schedule by around October, November of this year. Then we anticipate, just based on past year's weather patterns, having to pause and then being able to resume sometime February, March. And then they are looking to go back to Measure P to get the 27-year allotment to start. So what they try to do is, for the current fiscal year, they'll try to get a certain amount of money to do the contracts so they can start most of the work, with the idea that at some point they're going to have to pause because of weather-related delays. So that's on the city side in terms of the pavement, the upcoming sort of pavement, repavement, pothole fill progress. For State Route 29, they're still working on all the ADA curb outs that they have to complete before they actually start the repaving of Sonoma Boulevard. They anticipate the ADA curb work to be completed, I believe, sometime late summer. They should start paving sometime in September. I've heard the timeline is that they will finish that in about 2 months. So they plan on finishing the entire 6-mile stretch in about 2 months, starting in September for State Route 29. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that that timeline is going to hold. So far, the ADA curb work is on schedule. So, you know, they stop when it rains for a little bit of time, and then they're right back out there, and you'll see multiple crews working on that work. So we're hoping that it will go as planned, and that large project will be completed this fiscal year, this calendar year.
So I just want to clarify something with you. So, you know, I've been asking about this at council meetings, like every meeting. So our previous city manager, he first told me this is going to get done in the fall. Then we got to the fall, and because of the rain, we were told it's going to happen in the spring. And I think we may have signed off on a few contracts, if I'm not mistaken. So are you telling me that the 25-26 road repavement program, we can now expect for it to be fully completed by October, or that it's going to start in October? Like, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no.
I got the whole. Yeah.
So how it was explained to me is that they get that allocation of funds prior to issuing the RFP for a variety of different contractors to do different parts of that work. So there's a number of things that they focus on for pothole fills. They have some new contract with someone that has some innovative project that's supposed to allow it to last a little longer. Then they'll do the slurry seal, and then they'll do the full repavement. So there's like 3 stages for the work that they're anticipating on doing. The contracts, most of them have been issued currently, and they were in May. So I believe that some of that work should be starting within the next month or so. And so they should start that work in the spring, summer timeline. And what I was told is that almost 80% of the anticipated work should be completed before the rainy season. So sometime in October, November.
Okay. So again, we've had some staffing challenges. We've also had some not so kind weather. But the council has allocated multiple years in a row in the tens of millions to address the road repavement issues. So I just want to put that on the record, that is baseline level of investment that the council has been making, but because of these issues, we have not been able to really see that on the ground. Now, a technical question for you is, Tony, the following. Why are the contractors focusing on the ADA ramps first? Because I know a lot of folks are like, why don't you not focus on the roads? Why you focus on those things first? So can you just share information as to why it's done that way? Like, why don't we just go after the roads first and then deal with the curb ramps?
Typically, the ramps are done first because they tie into the curb and gutter. If there's bulb outs there, typically, like specifically State Road 29, where they tie into the curb and gutter, where they have to do the actual dig out. So that's actually more work if we do the actual. So it's more if it's the pavement is really damaged just beyond alligator cracks. They have to call. We have to call dig outs. So they're digging down 3-4 inches or more just to get rid of those bigger size, big potholes, basically, versus just crack sealing. Crack sealing is just like what they say, what it means, just alligator crack. You're just sealing it. That's it. But these are not just crack sealing it. So these are just dig outs where you have to do the size of these tables, or depending on where those potholes are, they have to dig that out. So that's going to take a lot more time as well. So that's specific locations. You got utilities in the way, in the center. So they're doing the outsides and working the way in. But when they do the initial lift, then they got to do a final lift as well to make everything flush to go into where the water sheet flow. When the rain comes, it goes typically from the center of the roadway to each side where the gutter goes in, so it doesn't pond in the middle of the road. So that's where it ties in everything together. So you're doing the outsides, you're working your way in, and then you do the striping at the end, of course, right?
So this is kind of like a game of Tetris that we're playing in a sense.
Correct.
You're making all the pieces fit.
And then tying it all together with the city manager, Nalungo, is why the delay in time is as you expected through COVID. The lead times for the Hawk mast arms, so those new mast arms we've done on, there's 3 on Springs and 2 on Broadway, where they've already had some on State Road 29, where it's a pseudo traffic signal where you push the pedestrian push button and it does the wigwam yellow, and then it goes wigwam red, and it goes solid red. It's for the pedestrians to cross. So those mast arms have a long lead time for those mast arms to come in. So that's why it's taking till August, where those come in. They install those at those crosswalks or other where the ADA ramps are being installed. Not all of them, but some of them. So that's what I was told from Caltrans, PIO, or the project manager there. And then after that, they'll start the paving in September.
So just a little bit more update. So for 2025, so the money that was allocated through Measure P for this current fiscal year, it's going to cover 59 of the ADA ramps. And so this isn't talking about on Sonoma, but elsewhere in the city. It's going to cover about 8 miles. And that's the Cape Seal project. And then for the rest, there's a mill and overlay. So that's, I think, when they grind down, right, and they do the surface pavement. That's about 3 miles. And then they also are going to do 109 ADA ramps. So they have to do those first, and then they'll do the 3-mile treatment of the mill and overlay. And then for 2026, so after July, they anticipate doing about 156 ADA ramps and then doing pavement restoration, and that'll be for about 5 miles of streets. So you should see a big ramp up coming up because Public Works just went for a really high dollar amount of Measure P money to augment what they got last year and then this year, and I believe that they're planning on going back in 2027 potentially for some additional funds.
Then I'm not sure if you're, I'm almost done. I'm not sure if you're aware, but maybe more so for you, Tony. Like, can you just ballpark tell us how much in road repavement monies were you getting to deal with our streets before 2023? Do you have any?
It was $1.2 million from the general fund.
That was it, right?
Yeah.
That was it.
There might have been some occasional funding that came from STA, but generally the city budget about $1.2 million from the general fund.
And do you know how much in deferred maintenance when it comes to roads the city has?
It's somewhere close to between 80 and $100 million.
Okay. So I just wanted to provide some context to folks in terms of the problem that we're dealing with. We didn't really have the right level of investment being made in our streets. You guys authorized the sales tax measure. We're pumping that money back in. It's going to take some time, but But when you're dealing with an $100 million project that, when unaddressed for some time, you're going to be dealing with what we're dealing with today. So it's not an excuse. Our team holds itself accountable. That's why we've been signing off on those investments. But it is something that it took a long time to get us here. And so I'm hoping in the next couple years the city will see improvement. But $100 million is a lot of money, folks, and that's a lot of roads. Yes.
719 lane miles that have to be addressed. So we have 50 square miles in this city, but it's a lot of lane miles that we need to address and improve.
Yeah. So I know this team has been working around the clock. You don't even want to see all the emails I've been sending them the past year. And they have been working diligently to address this issue, but we're talking about a significant investment that the city has to make. And I want to say for the record, I don't agree with the approach that we're currently taking. When this was first presented by former Director Tigbow, she presented a plan to the previous council and she said we should go out to bond, get the money in, repave all the roads, and keep it moving. Instead, someone made a decision, I'm not saying it was any of you here, to do this whole pay goal project. And that's why we're not really getting after the streets at the pace that we should be getting them at. So I think we should really stick with the original plan, because you could see that there's a lot of frustration in community. And it also undermines anything we're doing around public safety, around economic development. Someone comes in, checks our town. We could be doing all the other things, but if the roads look crappy, then you already know. I'm not gonna.
I could not agree.
Let's come up.
I could not agree more. It was extremely frustrating to see how that all went down. People did not like the rate, but I think what needs to be understood is that if you're talking about Vallejo bonds, it's the equivalent of a check cashing place. Nobody is going to give Vallejo a good deal. So that just should have been accepted. And yeah, I would love to see that brought back. It was extremely frustrating. It would have gotten a lot done, and making our city safer and cleaner and more pleasant brings people. So yeah, if you can bring that back, that would be awesome.
Thank you for that. And then I'll just have my last comment, which I don't know if it's a referral to the 2x2. So I've been living here for some time now, and you talked about Wardlaw, you talked about Cooper. I know Caliber is another example where, especially at pickup times, you've got all these cars. They're clogging streets. There's been fights. There's been accidents. You guys can, whatever you can think of about has happened. There's a lot of frustration that builds, and I don't really feel like the school district and the city are really comprehensively dealing with that issue. And I think it also, again, all these issues are interconnected, right? There's already a certain feeling about the school district. There's a certain experience. Like, we have to work more collaboratively to make sure that the experience that our parents and our kiddos are getting is a seamless one, from the moment they get off the car to the class and then back into the car. And so I'm not suggesting that, you guys are doing anything wrong because you're undermanned and you're trying to deal with all the things. But I do think that there would be some value in really thinking about how are we dealing with safety around each of our schools, like from a city district standpoint. And I know there were some initiatives that were pursued by former Vice Mayor Loera Diaz with the high school and with some of the other schools. But I do think that it is something that we should think about strategically. City Manager Conley. Yes.
Thank you for that question. So, we have actually been talking to VCUSD recently just about that issue. It's come up because the city is currently taking a lead position for the Air District grant. And part of that grant is a partnership with VPD and STA to do safe routes for schools. So we met with VCUSD. We identified the 5 elementary schools to target specifically for that reason, pick up and drop off, also trying to indicate the safe routes that they can take from public transit, identifying if it's possible to have safety officers to stand out there on a rotating basis to, provide some of that education, and then education to all the schools. We determined that middle school and high school education outreach will probably be the way to go because they're a little bit more independent. But as you indicated, for elementary, there's a lot of stopping on the other side of the street, letting the cars run, letting the kids run across the street, and we want to discourage that behavior. So we are actually looking to hopefully resource VPD in that area. Hopefully we will get this grant from the Air District, but we have been meeting with the school district reps, and they let us know specifically what they've indicated as some of their concerns about those elementary schools. So we are trying to collaborate more and address that very topic.
And then the last thing, this is District 1 specific. It's just a comment because I want to put it on the record. You guys know I have been emailing you for over a year now. We got issues on Foothill Drive because of the Costco project. We got issues on Oakwood, deteriorating road that has not received any love. And there's crazy speeding on that road. Same thing on Tennessee. Same thing on Springs. Same thing on Eagle Ridge. We had someone lose their life a few years ago. And so I appreciate all the love that you guys are giving the western part of the city. And at the same time, I do want to make sure that there's an equitable process by which all parts of the city are getting, some treatment, because we've got schools in my district. We have a lot of seniors that have been complaining about those conditions for a while. I have been emailing you guys, and I don't want to have to keep saying, give us more time, give us more time, give us more time. And so this is more of a comment to the city manager, acting city manager, that I would like to see just a comprehensive plan and process by which requests from the different districts are being responded to on a timely basis, and that it's being done in an equitable manner. I'm here just representing District 1 when it comes to this issue, but I'm sure all of my colleagues will feel the same way in terms of requests that need to be addressed in their respective districts. So that's my kind of concluding comment. And I just want to thank you guys for all of the work that you've been doing. The gains are real. They're undeniable. And I think we just have to keep building on that. So appreciate the partnership.
So I agree with my colleague. Hello? That when we are making requests, that I really look at it from an equitable standpoint of view. That's really important. Just if you think about District 3 and you talk about, in particular, that you addressed me today about Glen Cove, and you're talking about making that one lane, there's 2 lanes on each side of the road. And it is true, and I've seen the accidents where the cars get backed up going into the elementary school and someone is flying down that hill, and then we have an accident. But the other thing is, when you think about it, you turn that lane, there's 2 lanes. You turn that lane into a turn lane. So what happens after school hours? You don't have to answer right now. I'm just throwing it out there. Those are considerations. It's a 2-lane highway, getting in and out, one way in, one way out of Glen Cove. And you do see when parents are coming in during school time, people are parked in different places. Additionally, when you think about the tennis courts that have been turned into pickleball courts, and it creates a lot of traffic, and we're still waiting, I think, for the proper red striping where in front of the park, not parking there. So those kinds of things are still really important because it is only a 2-lane highway, and you're coming down a hill, and then you're coming back up a hill. And the real question is, even at that three-way stop, or it's two-way stop, people blow through that stop sign all the time, as though nothing is there. And we really need to figure out what's going to happen there, because if you think about the park and you think about the pickleball courts, and people are parking across the street on South Regatta at the corner, so forth and on, they're making their way across that crosswalk. You have an aging community where they are walking those streets, and someone comes down there and blows that stop sign. Someone is going to not survive a hit by a car. And it's been a continuous conversation. So it's like, what are we going to do different right there at that stop sign? Going to South Regatta and coming up the hill right by the park. I don't know what we can do, but we need to think about something. Because we've had fatal accidents where people are driving, taking out the, it's taken over a year to get our light posts back up. I don't even think it's up yet completely. I saw engineers out, but it's been over a year and we are missing a whole light lamp. And, you know, I go back to what I've asked about earlier, not just in Glen Cove, but throughout our entire city, the lighting in our city. And so I really want to keep that on the agenda. I want to talk about it. I don't want it to get lost in all the other things that we're doing. We have a very dark city, and we have bus stops all the way down Rollingwood. You don't even know they're bus stops. There's a little seat there. There might be a sign. It's dark. Someone comes through Rollingwood, and they are not driving appropriately, and they jump a curb where the bus stops are. We're going to lose somebody. So, but I believe that's primarily throughout the city when I drive. If you don't really know the streets, you don't even know what street you're turning on. I've had that experience numerous times when I've been in different areas, and I'm like, where's the street? So you're not the, you know, this, you're just here, you get to hear about it, but we need to figure out how to solve it, and we need to have a plan, and we need to keep it on the agenda because we need better lighting. Lighting is safety. We all know that. The better lit our city is, it brings down fatalities, it brings down crime of all kinds, of people being raped, of people being murdered, of people being hit, all kinds of things. So we need to really think about what our lighting needs to look like down all of our streets. I live on South Regatta. There's a light by the park, and it shines right through my house. I'm like, why is it so bright over here? And I bring that to a point, I'm making that point because all of our streets really should be lit up that we can see. You can barely see the streets over here, downtown. So I want that to be brought back. I want it to be a standing item because I want to know what are we doing about it. That's very important to me. I agree with my colleague. When we talk about 719 lane miles and you're telling me, oh, we're going to get 5 miles done, we're going to get 6 miles done, we're never going to get this work done doing pay as you go. So we do need to think about how we're going to go out and bond so we can get our streets in order. That's really important, how we get our streets in order. And bonding is very important. And when it's done appropriately, it is very beneficial. And I believe our incoming city manager has the skills to help us strategically deal with some of these challenges that we have been having in the city around how we're going to get things financed at a reasonable rate so we can move our city forward from an economic development perspective. You have to have good streets, lit up streets. You need to have ways that people believe that they are safe, policing. You know, all of these things are important to economic development. So I'm putting it on the record because it's important as citizens when we come out and we start talking about bonding that we understand why this is important. why we need to do this kind of finance strategy for our city. So those are all my comments for tonight. And I just want to thank you all again for all the hard work that you're doing and the time that you're taking with us in this work. We've made a lot of progress over this year for all the things that we're doing. And I want to thank the city team for all the work that they're doing. And we've had a lot of bumps in the road, but I am really encouraged by our new incoming city manager that he's not going to fix everything in 1 week, not in a month, not in 2 months. It's not possible. It takes 5 years to change culture. I know that for a fact. I work in those spaces where I am changing culture, where I'm working in organizations that we need a lot of work. And so it takes time, and I just want to encourage you as staff, when you are working with our new city manager, to be patient, because it's not going to be solved in 1 day. And for us as citizens to be patient, to be supportive, and be open to new ways of doing things so that this city can thrive. And this is what all this work is about. So thank you for tarrying with us in all of our questions and demands. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? I mean, how can you not end on that note? Yes, Mr. Hybels.
I'm on South Regatta every day. Police had one of those towers things with the blue lights. I noticed a definite obeying of the law when we had that out there. And there was an officer out there a couple times who wrote, 30 citations in a couple of hours or whatever. Be great to see. I think that tower thing did as much good as anything. Second comment, if you recall the mayoral run, I believe it was the mayor that was against bonding for the streets. I remember Anna and I were on the Measure P committee in 2024, had endless presentations and said, give them the money, give them the money. And I'm kind of shocked to hear we're talking 5 and 8 miles, because I know 719 miles, 9 miles. So that's great.
Thank you for that. That's all we got for this evening. I will continue to follow up with you guys on my district-specific requests.
Through the chair, before you adjourn,
Yes.
June 6th, next meeting, topics. Heard a few different things. We try to bring it, because now our standing items are growing, so I would like to just keep the action item to 1 if we can, but open to, if we just want to decide on that now, we can talk offline, whatever you guys want to do. I know Councilmember Maris had to leave, so.
We want to keep traffic safety, just to dig into the lighting, and just to talk about some progress that we can make collectively in that area. I sent around a draft RFP for the consultant work. So I think just another item on vision, get an update on vision, and also review the RFP so we can move that forward. So the dollars are there. And we should get someone in to help with that. And then we have the standing sex trafficking item, and that will be on the agenda, and the standing domestic violence initiative item.
Would you like to move traffic safety and abandoned vehicles? We say traffic safety, we can include lighting. Would you like to move that to a standing item to where the presentations can get a little shorter and more update related? We could do that as well.
Sure.
Because the action items, we try to bring the full shebang, right?
Yeah.
We try to bring all the stakeholders. So however you guys want to handle that, it's up to you.
Yeah, I think that's fine to have it be a thing item. And I think maybe you guys can work with legal. We should just, it's like there should be like the 3 standing items, and we could put it under 1 agenda item. We could just talk about them at every meeting: sex trafficking, domestic violence initiative, and then gun violence. Like those things are not going away. You have vision that you got to get off the ground, and we have to continue to make progress around those areas. And then under action, traffic safety. And I mean that, I think you can add abandoned vehicle under that category. We're not gonna let it go. So you know it's gonna come back every meeting.
Until you have one on Seacliff.
Zero.
I think that's pretty much it for now. To make progress in those areas, and then we can, I think, focus on a few other items. Yeah. Yes. Any lasting comments before we close? All right, that's all we got, folks. Thank you.